Welcome back to the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, everyone. This is the YouTube channel by that name, and I am showing you a foot pedal or foot controller, speed controller for the Bomark 3100. This, of course, is my Japanese or Taiwan-made hybrid vintage sewing machine. This machine is easily 45 years old, but I don't know, maybe late 70s, early 80s. It is mostly metal, but with a few nylon parts. So far, the overhaul has been going well. Didn't have any idea what I would find when I got to this machine. And so today I promised you all that I would take a look at the foot pedal. And I believe in my last video, in fact, I think it's sitting right here behind me, is I covered how to disassemble the turquoise rheostat foot pedal on my domestic, otherwise known as a white straight stitch Singer 15 clone machine. Boy, that's a mouthful. Anyway, I was showing all of you that, of course, on this particular pedal, it is held in place with steel prongs. And basically, I just, when I took it out, I took the my screwdriver and popped it right out. Sometimes the shell of the foot pedal is actually surrounded by a sort of a rim, if you will, and it has to be slid out sometimes at great effort. This one we're going to see. It has perfectly fine plastic feet, some sort of nylon foot. It's not rubber. What does it say on the bottom here? Sewing machine speed controller. And then it gives us a model 21105 at 60 hertz, 115 to 120 volts. That is North American standard for those of you who are watching from other countries. And then it says 1A here, which means 1 amp, and that's fine because our motor is 1 amp. And then it says something down here, 9K, I don't know what that's a reference to. And if we get in even a little closer, this number here, I don't know what that is exactly. I don't know if it's a serial number or what. In any case, it doesn't say where it's made, but my best guess is either Japan or Taiwan. So, when you're looking at your foot pedal, let's say you got this machine first time, never seen one, and you want to make sure that the foot pedal is going to be okay. Or maybe you're not even going to bother. But let's see what we have here. Underneath, I see a few indentations, and I don't know if that's for air. If it is, it's kind of there's not going to be a whole lot of air traveling through there. These grills on the side are definitely for air. Remember, these things don't have fans in them. They cool by natural convection, warm air moving, cold air taking its place. I think I see more. There's more opening vent here, and there's a nice little rubber button. Looks like a rubber washer, but it's it's there so that when you put your foot down, it doesn't go clank. And many of you, I don't know if you've ever looked closely at your foot pedals, but these types of foot pedals, the rheostats, they have these giant springs, right? And so as you press down, the spring is it prevents this pedal from just flopping, because obviously you want the pedal to pop back up. And of course, when we go inside, you'll see that this mechanism is connected. There's a connection right there. Let me point to it if I can. Right there. I don't know if you all can see that, but that is what is moving the innards or insides. So let's take a look and see how simple or not this is going to be to take apart. Again, I have checked, double checked. It is not plugged in. Never do this when something's plugged in. I know that's obvious, but any of us could forget. So I like to remind myself as well as all of you. Now, I see a rim that's going around this, and I'm thinking, oh no. But before I want to make sure this is not one of those you have to slide out. It's basically been crimped and it's a royal pain in the butt to get out. what I'm hoping, very often when you see that, one end of the rimmed tray, if you will be open. But here it's not. So once I undo this, again, Phillips head screw, we're in the late 70s, early 80s. We're getting Phillips heads, at least on some of them. Thankfully, this screw is turning. And of course, I am where? I am over my terry cloth textured mat. It's not actual terry cloth, but it's a textured woven mat that I'm hoping will catch anything that falls on it so that it doesn't go bouncing. I do not like little, there we go. It even has a nice little crush washer with it. How about that? Very nice. All right, we'll set that aside. Now, we've removed that. What's over here? I'm not exactly sure, but I see a little place here. Sometimes you don't see this. I have had these things become real royal pains to get out, but, trying this, don't seem to be getting anywhere with that. And I'm just actually trying to just pull and see if anything happens. Don't see any connectors on the bottom. You know, sometimes when you're trying to take something apart, you don't know if it's just stuck because it's old or because there's something holding on to it. And that's kind of the tough part about it. It's getting looser. Remember, it's 45, 50 years it's been sitting this way. Oh, let's see what happens. Now, what am I going to do? I like to do this, preferably if I can, so that I am sort of, well, I don't know, maybe it doesn't make a difference. I'm trying to see, when I start taking these apart, I want to make sure I understand how it's put together so it don't cause damage. I'm not seeing any damage here. And this is curious. I have never seen one like that before. Now, what do we know? We know that the cord is still attached. Now be careful because sometimes, in fact, I can tell with this one, the connection here was soldered, okay? Now this one may have been also soldered, but I see a little nut here. But be extra careful. If I pull too hard on this and I break that solder connection, I really don't want to have to resolder this. What a pain that would be. So, at least to me it is. Some of you may enjoy it. Soldering is not one of my favorite things. No. Okay, what do we got? Well, look at that big bunny. There's a big dust bunny sitting right there in front of us. Again, you know, who knows how and why, but look at this. Good grief. My goodness. This thing had feet, it'd probably hop away. That's a big giant ball of dust. And it's funny, it's kind of just all sitting here. Now, notice I'm taking, this is a basic cotton swab, and notice I'm just doing this. And there's a very fine, and I mean very fine layer of dust here. This shouldn't surprise you. In fact, I'm surprised there isn't more when you think about how long this little pedal has been encased. I'm pretty sure it hasn't been open since the day it was made. So, all right, we'll set this filth aside and let's get another. And let's see. One of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to make sure that there's no dust covering this. Now, this, notice I'm just being very gently, and I don't, again, if there's anything sharp here that might snag cotton fibers, I'm definitely not going to want to drag my cotton swab across it because I don't want to create more problems. But again, there's a very light layer of dust. Would this foot pedal work? Very likely. It would work dust or no dust, but it would be preferable to get any dust out of our way. Let's see. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of, by the way, this white piece is porcelain. This is one of the clues that if you're wondering, do I have an electronic pedal? Because electronic pedals were introduced, I think the Europeans might have gotten to them first, Bernina, Husqvarna, but eventually you start to see electronic pedals in the 60s with all kinds of other electronic things, transistor radios and so forth. But that doesn't mean every sewing machine had them. And when they first were introduced, of course, they were expensive. Like anything that's new, it typically costs more when it makes its first appearance on the market scene. All right. Now, again, paying close attention to this, right? Notice I've lifted this up, but I'm not pulling this away from. I'm going to lean it right up there against the machine. I do not want to make these solder points unhappy. I really don't. So, let's see what else is going on here. Under here, it's just a little bit of film of dust. No big deal. Now, I'm turning everything to the side. What do I see? Nothing particularly interesting. I see some sort of printed number. Don't know what that means. It's a serial number for someone. Once upon a time, probably just the manufacturer cared. But one of the ways you know that you probably do not have an electronic pedal is when you see porcelain. Now, why is that? I have seen, by the way, early electronic pedals that still used porcelain, but very, very often when porcelain goes away, it's because, porcelain has a very, notice I'm being very careful and gentle here because I'm new to this particular design, right? Technologies often, they have transition periods. So you might have an electronic pedal. I'm trying to remember if I had a Husqvarna once. Anyway, you might see porcelain, and yet you may see electronic parts. This is also going to be the case for any kind of interference capacitors that were used even early on. Before we get to electronic pedals, people had issues with radio and television interference. They didn't interfere with the machine. The machine would cause electronic interference in the electrical system of people's homes, and that would create issues if someone was wanting to hear the radio or watch television while someone else was sewing. You can see the conflict that would ensue. So I'm just taking again a very light layer of dust here. And to be honest, I'm not really sure of what am I actually going to clean? I was thinking I had a rheostat here, but I'm looking for one and not sure what I've got. Now, it is possible, certainly possible, that whatever is moving is on the underside, but that seems odd, because if this thing was repairable, and maybe it is, maybe this screw might attach it. Well, I don't know. I see metal pieces that are, remember those metal areas that I showed you on the underside? Well, this looks like a place where it's simply clipped onto. So, yeah, I see, what do I see here? I see 1 and 2 screws that probably will remove this piece, this porcelain housing from this pedal. Do I really want to mess with it? Now, I've mentioned to you all before that when you are, let's get a little zoom here for you. When you are screwing in or unscrewing metal from something like plastic, you want to be extra careful. Well, the same is true with porcelain. Porcelain is very hard, but it's also not very flexible, right? You know this anytime you drop a porcelain cup and it smashes into pieces. So we're not really wanting to cause any kind of issue. So what I see here, and notice what I just did here, let's see if we can figure this out together. You guys see this piece here? So when I move this, notice what happens. That arm is sweeping around and coming back. Now, it's not, but why isn't it retracting? It's not on a spring like the one that you saw with the turquoise foot pedal for that earlier machine I was talking about. In this case, you see that gap right there? Right there. There's a gap here. Well, this piece right here, let's get it into the camera without tearing our cords apart. this piece right here. Remember, this is connected to, if I push on the pedal, put your eyes right there, okay? When I push on the pedal, notice that that piece moves, all right? And that piece, of course, when the pedal's together, it sits right into that slot. So this is where, when I open this up, this arm was fully up. If you think about it coming over, it was fully up. I want it to be up when I put this thing back together, because that piece, has got to, it's going to have to come back and interact with this piece. So if you move this and you leave it, it may or may not. So we don't want to take any chances with that. Now, what do we got here? This is interesting. I'm not used to a rheostat with all of these, it looks like very fine metal, and I'm getting some carbon, residue coming off of it where it's been sweeping. So I'm going to take one of my precision tips, which I should already be using. If you've corrected me, you are correct. Because I'm dealing with metal here, and I don't want to leave, as long as I'm careful, I don't want to leave cotton fibers here. So what am I doing? I am thinking maybe I can take my alcohol, right? And I'm going to go under here where this piece, you can see what's coming off, where this piece swipes, right? I'm hoping that's okay. Never seen this before. You know, it's interesting, when I talk to all of you, as I've gone through this Beaumark 3100 sewing machine, this is its pedal. Not only is the machine new to me, so is this particular kind of analog pedal. This is not a electronic pedal. This is a form of rheostat, but it's different, right? Remember when I showed you the turquoise version, it had those different points and you could see the coils. Here, I don't see the coils. Maybe, again, this is a variation on the design from the past. And sometimes the technology overall does not really change. What changes is how they use it, right? And we know that that is certainly possible in technology. Very often, unless you just change the technology altogether all of a sudden, you're not really going to, they're not reinventing the wheel, but they might change it up a bit, right? They make changes. Now, what are the reasons they make changes? Sometimes it's to improve the device or the technology, and sometimes it doesn't improve anything. It just cheapens it. Any of you who have bought consumer products, most all of you I'm willing to bet have, if you're old enough, you will know that things have changed over time, and sometimes rather dramatically in terms of quality or design. Maybe they improved it. I don't want to suggest that everything gets ruined over time, but things, certainly home appliances have gotten cheapened over the years. Sewing machines have gotten cheapened. I'm still getting some residue here. And this is basically all I'm doing is looking. And by the way, I want to emphasize again, I've never seen one of these before, but hey, I think I figured out how did I know where the where the soot might be? Is because I watched to see where this arm was sweeping across. And why am I bothering to do this? Obviously, I've already demonstrated that this foot pedal will work, and it seems to work quite well. However, it can be a really, it certainly cannot hurt to take this pedal and clean it, because once we clean it, it should give us better performance. Maybe it's something I will be able to notice, maybe not. But, I'm still getting residue coming off here. But again, just as a reminder to you all, what you see in that jar, I put the jar in the camera view, is 99% isopropyl alcohol. Do not use 50% isopropyl. Use 99%. We want something that's going to not even sure if this is doing anything at all. We want something that is going to, not sure what that kind of crud that is. We want something that is going to clean and evaporate quickly. We definitely don't want any moisture or water in there. And that would not be pleasant on anything that uses electricity. All right. So let that dry off a little bit. Now, in the past, I have gone under and tried to clean the very underside of the arm that rubs across. However, this doesn't really let me lift the arm up. And I don't know if I want to do that or not. Now, this is interesting, folks. Me, again, without damaging my cord here, look at this. I just noticed this. I'm going to try to zoom in and see if I can get a closer view for all of you. Again, we'll discover this together. Let's see. I don't know if you can see this. Let me get my little screwdriver to help point. So we have, try to show this, we have this row of wire, and then we have what appears to be a piece of brass, I think. And look at this. The arm has two prongs. It has a prong that flares up to this piece, and then a prong that flares down to the wire. And I don't want to damage any of it at all, but I just think that's rather interesting. Let me pull this up again. I don't know if this is going to show for you on the camera. Do you folks see that? Let me, while I hold this here, while I attempt to do that, I'm going to move the arm by hand. Watch as I move it. You see that? That's the arm. And instead of having just a piece that pushes down like the others, this one has an arm that pushes both down and up, right? So I'm not going to try to, if I try to get under either one of these, I don't want to damage it. I don't want to bend it. It's just not worth it, right? If I can clean something a little extra and not cause any problems, no big deal. So was this worthwhile? I think it was. Why do I think that? Well, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Did any of you think about an area I could try to clean? Is the underside of this. The underside of this brass piece, because now I know that there's an arm here that's pushing up on it, right? So let's see what that does. Well, so far, not very much. Let's see. Well, I got a little bit. That's just a really small amount. That's very interesting. Well, all I can say is there's almost no residue on this piece, but there's definitely residue, or there was under here on these wires. Notice I'm going with the grain of the wire. I'm not going across the grain or the direction of these wires. Huh, interesting, because now I think I've gotten most of it off. I'm not getting as much black as I was before. So, Now, one of the reasons I also try to note what I'm putting alcohol on, I want to make sure that I'm not removing any kind of varnish, okay? I'm just wanting this to be cleaned of the carbon dust, right? I don't need to come in here and put alcohol everywhere else. I did take my dry and I removed a layer of dust that was on the wire. Again, I think this pedal could have run just fine, but I wanted to inspect it. I don't see any cracks in the porcelain, because how would you know? You wouldn't know if this thing had been dropped or, you know, smacked around. Who knows? But I'm pretty okay with putting it back together now. So, first time for everything, everyone. Let's see if I saw a little bit of dust over here. Now, we're not going to get every spot of dust out, and that's not really the goal, just the big stuff. That's really all I was interested in. And also making sure that my connections were okay. I was getting good connections when I was using this and testing it, but I just wanted to make sure. Now, notice I've still got very good connections on my wires. My solder points look great, and I am leaving them alone. I am not going to pull on those. So I'm going to come back. Oh, let's make sure that the arm is straight, right? Because I want this piece of my pedal to make sure that it locks in. So what am I doing here? I'm putting this back on to its platform, the base plate, and it's inside the little rim. It's inside everywhere, right? There's nothing. It's not overlapping anything. Don't know what that is. That looks like some kind of tape residue. I don't know what that is. Let's get that off of there. Yeah. Okay, now, before I put our little screw back in, I want to just make sure, as I push on this, that I have everything lined up for that arm to move. Don't know if you can hear that. I hear it, and I also can feel it. You obviously can't, but when I push, I can feel there's like a vibration of that lever swiping back and forth. So that's a good sign. There we go. All right. Now, while making sure that I don't let anything move, right? It doesn't seem to want to move. I am now going to take my little screw and put the crush washer back on. If you don't have a washer, you can either put one on, you can get one, or you can not. It's up to you. As long as the head of the bolt, or the screw, we'll call it a bolt, does not go through the hole, you'll be okay. Now, I'm going to do like I've done before. This is a tiny little bolt, and it's going to want to go zooming who knows where. So, I'm going to take it, kind of hold it this way. If you have a magnetized screwdriver bit, you can also, or a screwdriver, you can do that. I'm just going to turn it, and it's turning fine, no resistance. That tells me I haven't cross-threaded it, and it just snugged up, and I stopped. Do not go any farther when it snugs. You'll feel it tighten up on its own. If you go farther, you could strip it. And in my experience, Phillips head screws are really bad about stripping. I've had worse luck with Phillips heads than I have with straight head screws. So, there we go. All right. Cleaned, inspected, apparently okay, and hopefully ready. I was impressed when I have done testing with this foot pedal. Now, I can try it again, but I don't think I'm going to see much of a difference in performance. But it was working okay, and I could get some slow needle movement. I will let a new prospective owner try it out. All of you who are sewers, you vary, at least in my experience, in terms of how much sensitivity you like the foot pedal to have. This foot pedal is not worn out. In fact, it's in great shape, right? It could last a much longer time. By the way, let's just kind of cover this while we're at it. When you use, I think I've mentioned this to you all before, whenever you have any foot pedal that is not electronic, okay, it's not, electronic pedals, they generate little, if any, heat whatsoever because they control electricity with a different technology. The old school technology like this is a newer version of a rheostat. These get warm, and the more slow sewing you do, right, the warmer they get. You should still be able to hold it. If it's too hot, you might have some issues. But what I wanted to talk to you about was heat. Notice that this has feet. if you have any foot pedal that is missing feet or didn't come with feet, or the feet are gone or they're crumbling, you need to put some back, because when you put your pedal down on the floor, make sure that you have a solid surface. Okay, so pretend that this gray textured mat is carpet. That is not good, because yes, we have vents here for it to cool, but that bottom plate will get super hot if it doesn't, what do we got here? These feet are a little less than 1/4 of an inch, but that is just enough room to let air circulate under the foot pedal when it's on the floor to help it cool. So if you have carpet or a rug, that's fine, but make sure you put something on top of it. You could use, oh gosh, I don't know, if you have anything that is solid, you could use masonite. I don't know if any of you know what I mean when I say masonite. Any kind of firm board that you might, or a panel, you want to put something down there, okay? So if your sewing room is on carpet, or just take a piece of wood, and put this on top. Now, you want to make sure your wood doesn't go flying around and sliding on you. My point is, do not put any analog foot pedal for a sewing machine, whether it is a carbon pile, whether it is a rheostat, old school, or one of the later rheostats like this one is. Do not put it on carpet, because you can smother it. It can overheat, even with these vents. This one has more vents than I often see, but even still, do not do that, because the underbelly of your pedal needs to cool. It needs to cool by getting air to it. So that's my little sermon on foot pedals and heat and carpet, which I really wasn't planning to make. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is the last area of the Bowmark 3100 that I have shown all of you. And again, I have been exploring this machine, never seen one. I've seen a rheostat foot pedal for the first time, of a different design, never saw that. Did not have a manual, but just tried things out, tried to see, well, how does the bobbin winder work? How does the machine get threaded? If you're not sure, try it. Again, the machine will speak to you. And we'll let you know. And if you misthread it, try it threading it a different way, assuming that you have all the thread guides and those are not gone. I hope this series has been helpful for all of you. I know many of you, I didn't get a question specifically about this video series, but many of you have asked me, hey, I don't know how to thread my machine. Can you help me? And the only way I can do that is to have the machine in my hands, or have a very close-up view of it, and haven't figured out how to do that with all of you yet. So again, this is an example of a machine I've never seen, and I know some of you often get machines and you're struggling, you're really excited, but you're trying to figure out, well, how am I going to use this thing, and how am I going to set it up? And because to fully understand whether a machine is ready to sew or is in good shape, you first have to figure out how it works. Because even if there's not a thing wrong with it technically, if you, the sewer, do not know how to set it up, then you might, your machine might sit there and stare at you, figuratively speaking. So I hope that this was an inspiration for some of you to, have some confidence in trying. Don't let it, it's a machine, your chances of harming the machine are fairly low, as long as you go slowly, you take time to figure out how the machine is designed. As I showed all of you, this plastic panel that came off, I took the top off first, because on this model, the top helps hold the side panel in with some flanges, with a flange on each side. But you won't know that unless you try taking the top off first. So sometimes you have to kind of feel your way around a machine to get a feel for it, to prevent harming it. First do no harm, as they say in medicine. And hopefully this series will help you get some courage to try to set your machine up. You may still have questions. It may still not work. And, you know, I got lucky here. I mean, this machine is, you know, it had one part that was messed up on it. So I was able to fix it, thankfully. And it actually works. It's going to sew again. And someone, you know, we will find a new owner for this machine at some point. It doesn't always work out that way, but at least this time it did. And I hope it works out for you when any of you see a machine, you're thinking about getting it, but they don't have the manual, or maybe you were given a machine and you can't figure out how to make it work. This series, I hope, is a way to at least suggest that you cautiously, with intention, give it a try and see what happens. Thanks for watching, everyone. I so appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next video or the video series, whatever's coming next, and we will see you all again soon.